We begin this morning on the Punch newspapers. It says here 70,000 naira minimum wage. Federal government begins payment. Salaries rise to 4 trillion naira. 1,236,824 federal workers to get 334 billion naira monthly. NLC, TUC, Lord Federal Government. 21 children killed in Kenyan school fire.
That's sad.
Yes, sad story. Also, Edo North Senator Adams Oshomole congratulates Okpebholo once Obaseki probed. Why my admin suspended Emir Sanusi, says former President Goodluck Jonathan. And also, oil companies owe government over $6 billion, Nate saying. Federal government probing bandit sponsors, says Defense Headquarters. Bear in mind that the current governor of Zamfara State is accusing the former governor of Zamfara, Bello Matawale, of allegedly aiding bandits in his state. So the Defense Headquarters, I hope that it spreads its probe to those allegations. Kwara hails death sentence for 5 of our bank robbers. Afenifere demands restructuring as Senate OK Southwest Development Commission. Those are the stories on the Punch this morning. All
right, let's move away from the Punch newspaper to the next one. The next paper this morning is the Daily Trust. Flood displaces 82 communities in Niger. We used canoes to evacuate our families. Nah, this is not good. Situation worrisome, according to Council Chair. 19 local government areas affected this year, according to SEMA DG. 4 local government areas cut off in Borno. 50 Almajiri out-of-school children roaming, 50 million Almajiri out-of-school children roaming Nigeria streets, according to federal government. Cholera kills 11 in Ebonyi. Tour operators suspend registration for 2025 Hajj. Offer bank robbers to die by hanging after 6-year trial. That was one of the big stories yesterday. Federal government suspends prison officers over Bobrisky allegations. Hardship, Tinubu orders low-key 64th independence celebration. Jonathan counters Emir Sanusi, says Nigeria did not lose $49.8 billion under his watch. That's all on the Daily Trust. I think we have one more paper this morning.
All right.
All right. That's all that we can take this morning. We, of course,
are joined this morning by Ode Ahime, who's the head strategy and public affairs, Nairametrics, to x-ray these stories. Good morning, Mr. Ahime.
Good morning, everyone in the studio. Great to be here.
Good to have you.
All right, let's quickly just start with the story on the Punch, where it says here, federal government begins payment of 70,000 naira minimum wage. Salaries rise to 4 trillion naira. Quick reactions to that, and as it currently stands, do you think that the government, can maintain that? And of course, let's also include state governments.
Well, I hope they can. This 4 trillion is a large amount which is going to hit the government coffers all across the 3 sectors of the government, and we know that that's about over 100% increase from 30,000 minimum wage. We know that some states have not even been paying the 30,000. States owe salaries, some for months, some are even still owing for over a year. So are we going to be able to meet this? These are additional costs to the cost of governance that everyone is complaining about, just on the government side. But let's also remember that the private sector, both organized and what you call the informal sector, some of those who are big in that area, would also have to adhere to the minimum wage of 70,000. Can they afford that? Cost of business is already extremely high. Electricity, logistics, you name it. So let's see how it goes. But the good thing is it's been approved. It kicks off effective September 1. So we hope that at the end of the day, we're not going to hear more stories of states not being able to pay this 70,000 as minimum wage, as agreed by everyone. But let's also remember that this agreement was, according to the NLC, based on the fact that petrol prices are not going to go up, but we've seen about a 50% increase in petrol prices over the last couple of weeks. So how does that affect the 70,000 that is going to start effective the end of September? These are things we need to consider, and the government has to look into, because the cost of living is continually going up and hunger just seems to persist.
All right, now speaking about cost of living going up and hunger persisting, on the front page of the Daily Trust, hardship, Tinubu orders low-key 64th independence celebration. What it is, 1st of October is around the corner. It's next week, Tuesday. Do you get a sense of what that day would look like here in Nigeria for Nigerians?
Well, you've heard the president and what he said, that he wants a low-key celebration, the same way he did for May 29, although he had to do the May 29th and, Democracy Day on June 12th, though he had to go for that parade. So I don't know how low-key it was, but let's see how it goes. We know the flooding issues that we're currently contending with in Borno and now in Niger State. We don't know how many more states are going to get affected by that with the flooding. So really, I just presume that it's going to be low-key for most Nigerians. Like we said earlier, the cost of living is going up, although they'll tell you, the government will say GDP is grown slightly, inflation has dropped slightly, but is that going to continue, and how persistent will that be? The Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, just raised the MPR by 2% or 200 basis points to 27.25. So exactly where are we going to be? Because the cost of borrowing is going to go up, which invariably affects every other aspect of doing business. We know that the big players in the industries who are already complaining with regards to the cost of doing business are crying again. We also heard not too long ago that there is a possible increase in electricity tariffs for Band A. More and more people are being moved into Band A. Electricity it's been a bit stable in the last few months, but how do we pay for all this? Petrol up, electricity going up, interest rates have gone up again. Well, I guess we'll just have to have a low-key October 1, and that's what the president is asking for.
Yeah, I mean, low-key October 1, I mean, it almost, you don't even need to ask for it. That's what it's going to be. Nigerians generally across the country at this point cannot have anything that is not low-key if they would even celebrate anything at all. So the president doesn't even need to ask. That's exactly what it's going to be. And unfortunately, that's what it has been for the last couple of years. 2024's low-key celebration is not going to be the first one. We've had low-key celebrations for at least the last 5 or even 6 years. Next year doesn't promise to be not low-key. I don't want to call it high-key. It's a sad situation. Quickly share your thoughts, on the controversy concerning the Nigerian Correction Service. EFCC, 50 million naira bribery allegations, leaked voice messages or voice phone calls rather, and the likes. What's going on over there?
So I guess this is a good thing that is coming out. What I really don't understand is the National Assembly saying they are going to probe that. If an issue in terms of bribery has come out, then the right institution to do that will be the police to investigate that and come back and say whether it was true or not. And that's the reality. If it affects the EFCC, the head of the EFCC should also set up an investigative team within the EFCC to investigate the truth of it. But why is he in the news? Maybe it's because it's Bobrisky and the amount that we're talking about is quite large. But we hear this every day, and at the end of the day, it's swept under the carpet. We heard of the issue just early in this administration, humanitarian affairs. Nobody has Nobody has heard anything after that. Oh, they're going to investigate it. And this is almost a year after. And we still haven't heard that anybody has been charged or the investigation has been closed. So in my own opinion, this is just another headline on the newspapers to divert our attentions from the reality of the fact that people are hungry, cost of living is gone up, electricity tariff is going up, petrol prices have gone up, FX is still not stable for an import dependent country. It's been hovering between 1,580 and 1,650, both within the official and parallel markets. And are people able to plan? Like I said earlier, MPC just came out. Interest rates to borrow to banks is now 27.25%, meaning that give or take, minimum the banks are going to be adding at least 2% into that. So interest rates might be hitting 30% for you who wants to do business, and 30% and the overheads that you have to incur in terms of the other things I've spoken about, power, logistics, which is fuel, and so on. So really, in my opinion, I think it's just another diversionary news. Why? Maybe because it relates to Bobrisky, but a bribe is a bribe, which is, if it's proved or the investigations are carried out and shared amongst the public. The thing about a number of all these things, and which we'll all continue to say and talk about, is we throw these sensational headlines, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. We still haven't been able to locate the whereabouts of the former governor of Kogi State, who is wanted and has a ransom on his head. This is almost 6 months, if not over 6 months, and we're talking about another bribery scandal that affects the EFCC and the prisons. Yes, they suspended a few people, but I guess that's where it just ends.
Like you said, and a number of Nigerians have shared that sentiment as well, that there's still hunger in the land. And unfortunately, this hunger will not be celebrated on the 1st of October. In fact, the likelihood of a protest, from what we've been hearing, and which is another conversation that we'll be having this morning. Adeyeye, good morning. Once again, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to having you next week.
Thank you for having me in the studio. Have a great weekend, everyone.
You as well. Yes.